So, ladies, gentlemen, today we are going to be looking at pulling apart some prompts and what we do with them. I'm going to be recording this, so try not to swear too much, and I'll try as well. So, does anyone have a preference on prompt that they really want to look at, that they kind of have seen on the list and they're like, ooh, I wouldn't want to get that? Anyone? The 13th prompt. Ooh. How do you know them that well? That's impressive. Okay. Right. Where am I looking for? Practice prompts. Okay, let's have a look. So, Rick is asking for 13. What did you say?
It's page 117.
Page 117. Here we go. This one? Okay, so Rick would like to do number 12, which says, even the mail he would have thrown away immediately never arrived now, suggesting that he'd do anything rather than leave a single excuse for recontact. Oh, sad face. Okay, so that's cross country. I think that's a good pick because nobody really seems to know cross country that well. Have you noticed that? It's kind of one that everyone seems to glide over. Even though it's not a bad one, it's actually pretty cool. So, are we happy to do that? Do you want to pick that one? Alright, so I'm going to copy that sucker and paste it. Copy and paste. Alright. I'm going to just smaller it. That's right. I said smaller it. Are you judging me, D-Pal? I don't need your judgment. There's enough judgment in my world. All right. Okay, so let's put that there. And then let's put that... All right, here we go. Let's do it. Oh, okay, so that's not good. All right. So, ladies, gentlemen, ladies and gents, let's have a look at this prompt. My pen working? Yes, excellent. So, I'm going to change actually the colour. There we go, that's better. All right, so ladies and gents, tell me, what is this prompt about? Actually, let's go earlier than that. Who is thinking this? Who thinks this in the story?
The main character, about like the boyfriend that dumped her.
Good, yeah, it's the protagonist. About her ex. Okay, it's about her ex. Okay, so we know the context of it, that it's the protagonist about her ex. Even the mail he would have thrown away immediately never arrived now, suggesting he'd do anything rather than leave a single excuse for recontact. Okay, what does that mean? So he's somehow like, I would say he's probably like redirected his mail, or he's like called up. Like, what's the kind of mail that you immediately throw away? Name some of the mail that you get that you immediately throw away. Junk, it's junk mail, but what kind of things do you get in the mail? Advertising, usually like shoe catalogues, bank statements from old banks that you actually don't bank with anymore, but you haven't closed the account, super funds that you don't actually work at that company anymore, but they just keep sending you junk, like all of that kind of stuff. He has either gone to the post office, filled out a form, lodged that form, paid a subscription service so that all of his mail gets redirected to a new place, which is a lot of effort to go to, or he has rung up each person who sends him mail and said, this is my new address. Either of those require him to have planned this before he dumped her. here. Planned it so that once he broke up with her, he would never have to look at her again. He'd never have to see her again. That he could dump and run. Right? Leave a single excuse for recontact. Because this is the thing, like if you've been living with someone for a while and you break up, there's all this messy in between where it's like, we've broken up,
but you've left.
but you've got to go pick up. Yeah, you've got my CD. Oh, did you take that? That's actually so and so's. Oh, you've got all these reasons for recontact. He has stopped all of those. He has made sure everything is tidy before he legs it, because he doesn't want to talk to her anymore. He wants nothing to do with her. And in its own way, imagine how painful that would be. Because remember, in the story, does she expect this breakup? No, she has no idea why they've broken up. He's just said to her, I'm not into it, I'm out. Done. And he's just left, right? And she's standing there reeling, going, what? What do you mean? Like, I just paid for your whole education. I've just been, funding your lifestyle, and then you've just ditched me? And not just ditched me, but you've planned an escape route to ditch me. And given me no explanation. And that's the thing that kills her in this story, isn't it? It's the lack of explanation. So what does she do to get the explanation? Do you remember? Yep.
She goes searching on the internet for it?
Yeah, she goes searching on the internet, which is exactly what anyone in the 21st century does, isn't it? Like, when you get ditched by someone, the first thing you do is you get on their social media account. Because you're like, what the hell are you doing when I'm not around? What are you doing now that I'm not there? I want to know. Okay? I am so glad that I stopped dating people before social media became a really big thing. Like, Facebook had only really started being a mainstream thing when I was dating people, but luckily I haven't had to date anyone since. So, because I reckon I would be a maniac. I would definitely cyber stalk people. Like, I'm quite comfortable with that. I know I would be that person. I would be totally worse than her. I would quit my job. I would stop eating. I'd be like wearing adult diapers. I would be on the internet, like searching up all my exes. That would be my life. I'm a passionate woman. So we're talking about cross country and how she's like, searching the internet, trying to find answers about why this guy left her. By the way, this is going on YouTube, so hello to any of my exes that are currently listening to this. You're welcome. Hey, there's a surprise for you. Yeah, now like they haunt you forever. Yeah. Or you just delete them. Good point, Laura. You just delete those suckers.
They weren't even confused when I was dating.
Hey, Trev. So we know that he's gone to an absolute ton of effort to basically wipe her from his life. So he has wiped her from his life. Right? It's like the ideal exit that's like almost impossible due to social media these days. It's almost impossible to have a clean break these days. But he has done everything he can, and that even the mail tells us that. Because I know I've lived in like 5 different places in like the last 10 years, and I know that I've still got mail going to some of them.
You can get mail redirected.
You can, but I'm a tight ass, and I don't want to pay for it. I'm tight, I won't pay for it. Yeah.
The word even suggests that sense of it. Is that what have I jumped ahead?
No, go for it. That's exactly what I was going to say.
You were going to
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Oh, okay. So the word even means that like there are so many avenues. Like, he has basically done everything. There is not a CD left behind. There is not a pillow slip left behind. There is not like a novelty mug left behind. He has taken everything that is his from that house and exited the building, so that she's got no reason to pick up the phone and go, oh, hey, I just found this of yours. Do you want me to drop it by, or do you want to come pick it up? There's none of that. He's done that so deliberately.
Because I once had an ex who wanted to come around because he reckoned he left his calculator.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And this is like, no, I wasn't 12, I was like 24.
And they should have known that there'd be no way that you would let a calculator be in your presence.
Oh,
You
like,
would have
dude,
killed it.
Seriously?
Yeah, yeah. Let it go, I'll buy you a new one. Okay, so that's really important. What kind of feelings or what kind of things are coming out of this? Like, when she's mentioning this, why does she mention it? What feelings come from it? How would you feel if you had this happen? Yeah.
Even contemplating something like that would mean that she's lonely and she's trying to fill it up.
Yeah. This is definitely isolation, isn't it? Like, how isolated would you feel if your partner, the person that you thought you knew, that you understood, all of a sudden shows that they've had this elaborate plan to remove themselves from your life that they have been plotting before they left? Like, that's got to make you feel alone. Yeah?
I think she's feeling both emotional and physical. Like, the physical loss is showing her, and it's messing with her mind. Like, she can't function, she can't do a job, she can't do... It'd be interesting to write from the perspective of him, or from someone that can flip it and take his persona and they've shut themselves off from the rest of the world. Like that kind of thing. From an ordeal. That's where I'm coming from.
Look at me editing. Oh, no, sorry. Too far. No, it won't let me. Okay. I'm going to have to just change it. There we go. Effect. Now, Miss Smith just mentioned something really interesting about, like, the mental loss affecting, the physical. How do we know that her mental loss, her loss of that relationship, is affecting her physically? Yep.
Well, one, she has depression.
Good. She talks about having depression, that she has to take these pills, but she's not taking the pills. Yeah, what else?
The fact that she's not taking care of herself. Like, she's like, this is me, this has been me, I've been eating styrofoam.
Yeah.
No, not styrofoam, but like the 2-minute noodles.
She's eating 2-minute noodles. She's just kind of surviving. She's not washing. She's not going anywhere. She keeps talking about, like, going for jogs that she has no intention of doing. She's just got to go buy the sneakers. Her mental loss is affecting her physical. Okay. What else do you get from that particular quote? How else would you feel if this happened to you? Yeah.
It's also kind of, she does want to reach out to him. That's kind of heavily implied that.
Yeah.
She's like a single excuse, implying that she's thought of a way.
She's trying to think of a single excuse. That's such a good point. Yeah.
She's lost control. I think she's got this sense of losing control.
She wants connection. Yeah, she wants connection. Yeah, definitely. Anything else that you get from it?
I think like her mental state has like led her to isolate herself from the world. Like she can barely even get out of the house just to buy pills.
Good, yeah. Depression is compounding that. Yeah, her depression is compounding this feeling of isolation. That she has the isolation from the boyfriend, but then it's also causing her to isolate herself from everybody. Yeah.
I like that line that you, this is a fantastic comment, by the way.
Yeah, it's good.
I really like suggesting that he'd do anything rather than
Yeah, he'd do anything rather than talk about me. How rejected would you feel? Surely you would feel a real sense of rejection.
Yes.
Yeah?
Abandonment.
He would rather do anything than see me again.
Then leave any scrap of you possibly.
Yeah, of having to deal with me again.
And the,
Yeah,
rather than that,
Absolutely, yeah.
echoes with the even.
Yeah.
Anything possible
Rather than
to wipe her out of his life.
yeah, rejection. That has gotta hurt. Okay. Any other feelings that you kind of get from this? That you kind of like, this is how she would feel? Yeah?
Like maybe just a feeling of being disregarded. Also, like the symbolism of maybe she's less important even than that male that is pleasant.
Yeah, good. Yeah, disregarded and like thrown away almost. Yeah. Thrown away. Love it. Cool. Yeah.
Would you say that this entire book is, and story in general, is about relationships, and in this particular case, the breaking down and trying to deal with those burnt bridges?
Yeah.
The connections with your teachers that would be smart to do. Because you've got to think to yourself, so what big overarching ideas can I pull from this that I can connect to what I've written or what I've...
Yeah. So these are the kind of things, so when I would get a prompt, this is what I would do. I would kind of go, all right, so where is this text from? First off, I'd go, where is this text from? What is it about? And then I would start going, okay, well, what are the kinds of things does this quote, does this prompt communicate? You know, rejection, being thrown away, being disregarded, feeling isolated, wanting connection, all of these kinds of things. So I'd start kind of generating some, buzzwords that I could kind of hold on to. And then going, okay, so what is the greater, theme or idea? And I think definitely it's relationships, isn't it? It's about relationships and the breakdown of relationships.
And the remorse within that, so
Yeah.
things that they could have done differently, which I think is
Yeah.
most of this.
And how you have to deal with when relationships start to fall apart or feel tension. Yeah. So, and so I'm going to write relationship, frowny face. When relationships go bad, right? Okay. So that's what, if I pick that one, that's what my story has to be about. It has to find some of these things. Okay? Now, it doesn't necessarily have to have all of them. I might go, I don't want to do the mental loss affecting the physical. I feel like it'd be too hard to communicate, whatever. Or you might go, I don't want to deal with, say, the rejection stuff. Because I just broke up with my boyfriend. I got a lot of feels. It's too close. It's too close, Too close. I'm not going to do it. Okay, fine. No worries. Please don't cry during the sack. Unless it's because your work is so terrible, then I understand. I will probably cry when I read it too. We'll cry together. But you need to pick some things. So I might kind of go, I really want to explore that idea of wanting connection and not being able to find it. I really want to address that idea of isolation. And I want to talk about how feeling isolated feels. Okay? They're the things that I want to grab. And obviously, I'm going to have to look at the overarching thought of relationships and when they go bad. Okay? And then I go back into my memory and think about all the little drafts that I've done in the past, and are there any that look at these ideas? Or are there any that I could put these ideas in? Okay? But if I don't have anything, because I haven't practiced, we see what we can do. All right, so can I move on from this slide? Yes, darling?
Could you perhaps flip it around so it's physical affecting mental, and that still have a strong enough connection, or is it too far?
I would just worry that you would get too far away. As long as you can still hold on to that idea, yes. One thing I will say though is notice the ideas that we brought up, like rejection, wanting connection, isolation, feeling disregarded. Are these only in cross country? Where do I see someone feeling disregarded or thrown away or, ignored?
Flexion.
Pardon?
Flexion.
Flexion. Good, yeah. She feels ignored and disregarded, definitely. I would have even said like a house on fire, that he gets stepped over. Yeah? Great ones to make connections with. What about isolation? Who feels isolated in these stories?
More often not the main character.
Pardon?
The main characters normally feel like a bit of isolation.
Yeah, pretty much every main character experiences isolation. Name me specifics.
Oh.
Yep.
Laminex and Mirrors at the very beginning, she's
Yeah.
very disconnected. She
Yeah.
kind of dislikes the nicknames they're giving. She doesn't want to be a part of it.
Good.
At the end, it's about her reaching out and grabbing.
And finding connection. Good, yeah. So you don't have to write in this story. You might go, okay, I see that this is about isolation. I'm going to take that thought and I still want to write inside the text. I don't want to have to create my own world. I don't want to write my own short story. I want to still be in the world of the text because I feel safe there. And certainly if you're someone who doesn't feel like they are a strong creative writer, this is a good option, a really, really good option. Go, okay, I don't want to write in cross country because I got nothing for it. But that feeling of isolation, I really connect with it in Laminex and Mirrors. Yeah, or Sleepers. Sleepers is really about feeling isolated and rejected. This and Sleepers are like two peas in the same pod. Flip it over, be the guy in Sleepers. Or be Tyler in 72 Derwents. Today in my classes we were talking about Tyler's isolation and how, she longs for a friend. She longs to, spend time with Georgia. And she longs to not be let down by teachers or adults anymore. That's a feeling of isolation. So you could, take that and move it to another text. That's okay. You could explore these things in different texts. That's fine. Okay, did that make sense? Not if that made sense. YouTube, not if that made sense. They did, they nodded. It was nice. Okay, so do you want to come up with ideas? Want to do ideas? Okay. Do we want to start inside the text?
Outside.
Or you want to start outside? Okay.
Most kids having problems with gaps, filling in the gap and how to use the story as a springboard.
My kids
Am I
were.
wrong?
My kids were having.
You don't know how to do that? Let's do that then. We're starting inside. We're starting inside. All right. So we just gave some just then. So we take the ideas and we go, okay, who feels that? So we said that, who was it? We said Laminex and Mirrors could do it. That feeling of isolation.
Especially from Mr. Morton, if you did it from his. 'Cause he-
Good one. Okay. So, Laminex and Mirrors. You could be good if I could type. All right, Laminex and Mirrors. You could be Mr. Morton. What would Mr. Morton do? I need a form. Would he write a journal? Would he be a Dear Diary kind of guy?
Probably monologue.
Probably not a Dear Diary kind of guy. I would say a monologue would work really well with him. That he's sitting there, by himself, waiting for someone to come and visit him while he's just dying.
Well, he could also do a letter, maybe to his dead wife or something.
Good, okay. So,
Obviously the wife's
Mr. Morton monologue. Let's just stay with the monologue for a second. Put a bookmark in that idea. In the monologue, where is he? What's the scenario? Give me the scenario.
Maybe he's waiting for his daughter.
Okay. Waiting. So it's after the smoke. So it's after he goes and has the smoke, and he's coming back in, and his daughter's coming today. So, waiting for his daughter to visit. Perhaps she doesn't visit. Perhaps she doesn't come. She got really busy and just, yeah. And then gets a call saying she is too busy to make it this week. Yeah? He gets this call. So you start off writing a little bit of a short story saying, sitting in the chair, blah, 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 gets the call, and the daughter says, "Oh, I can't come today, Dad. I'm really sorry, but I'll try and get here next week."
What
And
I
he
really
hang-
like about that,
Yeah,
sorry,
you're right. And then he hangs up the phone, and then we go into the monologue. Yeah? Yep.
as part of it, because the problem and my fear with the monologues or any of these reflective things is that you tend to retell events that Kate Kennedy's already done a really good job of telling, and there's not really anything particularly original or interesting to read once you've done it. So if you were going to do this, from the moment in the text where when the daughter isn't coming, that's your opportunity to go to a story like say Ashes or Back Out Cross Country and stuff like that, where he talks about how his relationship in the past with his daughter has led her to not make the time for him. So what has he done as a father,
To lead up to that.
yeah, to suggest that, okay, well, she doesn't care about him enough to really bend that much to get to see him. Where is his guilt in that? Because clearly this is a man, who's lived a life of sorts, so coming back from the war.
Maybe he was really distant as a a parent because of his post-traumatic stress or something, and that's something that he discusses.
Where their birthdays that he missed,
Yeah.
and stuff, and you can just come up and you can do basically like 150, 200 words per recollection.
Of
And
course.
intersperse that with a nurse coming in or a cleaner coming in, and you've got it,
Great.
which is not a monologue then. So.
Yeah, no, but that's okay. So then I would start kind of planning what he thinks about. So remembering that we need to tie into the excuse for contact. So obviously we're going to need to talk about, how he feels like isolated. How he feels like kind of, disregarded, thrown away by his family. And you could go into the reasons for this.
Which ties into the quote.
Yeah,
Pretty good job.
I know. It's like I've done this before.
Pretty good, man.
Yeah, it's like I've done this before. And going to the reasons for this. What else could you talk about? Let's go back to this and have a look. Yeah.
Well, it
Sorry.
did happen after the events of the story, so you could talk about like that connection that he felt with the main character.
Yeah, and how he longs for that connection with people, and that moment of connection was the first time he's felt that in a long time. Yeah. That moment of connection with the girl makes him long for that with people that he loves or loved,
That's a good one too, actually.
that he's like, if only I had that with, that daughter that called up and said she couldn't come, that ex-wife that I left, and, maybe all the other people that should be there by his bedside that aren't. Friends, brothers, sisters, those kind of things. Do you feel like you could get a decent story out of this now? And that's what you do. So I would do literally a paragraph on how he feels isolated. And then I would do a paragraph on how he's thrown away by family. And then I would do a paragraph, thrown away by family and the reasons for this. And then I would do a paragraph on the moment of connection that makes him long for it with others. Like, make sure you do every idea justice. So when you do those brainstorms and you kind of coming up with ideas of what you're going to talk about, base each paragraph, try and do a paragraph on each of those ideas rather than just kind of making a throwaway comment of, oh, I wish I had that with other people. Next thing. Because you're not going to get the the word limit. You're not going to get the depth. Okay? All right, so we got a really great idea there. Exciting. All right, what's another idea? That's not enough. I need more ideas. What's another story that I could do? Another story that has this idea. We said it before, there are two stories, this story and, the cross country and another story that are like two peas in a pod. Sleepers. Another story which if somebody wrote on it, I'd be like, that's impressive because no one really knows sleepers. It's one of those stories that goes under the radar, okay? So you do sleepers. Ooh, I love sleepers. I feel so sad in sleepers. Sleepers makes you sad. Sleepers and 72 Derwents makes me just like want to cry.
I found Kate.
It makes me actually depressing, like a bit depressing.
Kate did it for me.
Cake? Oh, that's because you're a mum. I'm not a mum. I'm not a mum. I'm a dog mum, but I'm not a mum.
I think it was just dropping the kinder thing. My kids banged on about the kinder thing, didn't I?
I don't have kids. I don't like kids. It's not an issue that I have. Yeah, you have kids, so you can't say that because it's on YouTube, and one day Gabby will go online. Who? No, Lanza left ages ago. Whew, I think we've got it. Right. Okay, so sleepers. What could I do with sleepers?
The bird that he wants, what's her name? Sharon? Sharon.
It's something like Sharon.
Shazam.
Yeah, it's something seductive like Sharon.
Trevor and Carrie.
Oh, that ill.
Hot.
Sharon? I love that name, by the way.
Sharon.
Shaz. I love Trev. Trev and
I actually have an auntie Shaz, who is a legend, who tucked her dress at my wedding, tucked her dress into her stockings so that she could do a split on the bar.
That's hot.
What can I say?
What can I say?
50, mid-50s.
I could go.
She owns her own pub in Tasmania, and she's a rip snorter.
You know what you gotta do? You gotta
Shaz, this one's for you. She's a legend.
It's a girl, that's it.
Shaz, yeah, she's a legend. She's a legend. Yeah. And my friends were just like, who is this goddess? And how do we become her? Like, you own a pub in a very remote town. All right, so sleepers. Let's see it. How do I connect with sleepers? Where do I see these ideas in sleepers? Laura is killing it today. Laura.
Well, once again in Sleepers, he was like thrown away. He was basically, it was like the opposite of this, and the only reason why she didn't like just disappear like he does because she wanted the house.
Yeah, she wanted to live in the house. He got kicked out of the
Do they
house.
live in a small town? It feels almost like it's set in
It feels like it's because it's Sharon.
Small rural town.
Yeah, it does. It feels like a small town.
Could be Bairnsdale.
Yeah,
I feel like it's rotating.
yeah. Might be Benalla. You know, like where she's from.
She's in Castlemaine now.
Yeah, she's now because she's fancy now.
Wow.
Fancy now. But she was in Benalla, and this smells like Benalla.
Does it?
Yeah. A lot of Sharons in Benalla. So I have family in Benalla too. That's right. Lots of class in my family. Really hope my family never listens to this. So I'm going to put this on the internet. My family's going to find it. No, I love my family. They're awesome. So stay with me. So Benalla, let's picture it in a small town. So I could pull on that idea of disregarded, thrown away. Abandonment, definitely. Yep.
The stalking happens, but this time it's a little bit more.
The stalking happens and it's more literal this time. It's definitely turning up at people's houses. It's like old school stalk, which is nice. I like to go classic.
80s and 90s stalk.
I'm going to go classic stalk on you. Yeah. He definitely goes classic stalk. So, what's my story?
Absolutely.
Who do I be?
I love that notion. I feel like this story ties with the prompt in terms of that sense of absolute rejection. And so in cross country, isn't there that thing of like she tries to find something and fails, as does he.
Okay.
That last ditch effort. So is
Do we show, because he actually talks about times that he's turned up at her house to like do nice things for her, and she's like basically gone, mate, take a hint. It's not going to happen. Could we write one of those moments?
I think that would be great. But
I think that would be really beautiful, that he turns up and maybe he's like half cut because he seems to be drinking a lot lately. It's an issue. He's half cut. He turns up at this house. He's got Safeway flowers in one hand, and he's like, take me back, Shaz. Take me back.
Do you get the feeling that
Could we write that story?
I would love that story.
And then she's just like, sorry, mate, Trevor's over. And then the door shuts in his face. Oh, because it'd have to be Trev, wouldn't it?
It has to be.
Trev's a dog. It'd have to be Trev.
What about Barry?
I also,
Barry.
it could be Baz, yeah.
That's better though, isn't it? I like Kevin.
Kevin, yeah, you gotta watch Sneaky Kev. Yeah.
I like Kenny as well.
Kenny, excellent. So,
Well, now we've stuff.
all right, okay, so we've brainstormed names, but let's get something down on paper. Okay, so, filling in a... So this one is a classic fill in the gap. Yeah, there's a gap in the story. He hints that he's done this, but he doesn't tell us the story. We're filling in a gap, okay? What's the guy's name? I've forgotten it.
Right.
Ray. Yeah, that's right. Ray turns up at Sharon's
Is it Sharon?
house, i.e. his house,
They're ready.
and tries and fails to win her back.
So you're saying with the Safeway
She,
flowers?
yeah, bring the Safeway flowers in the cellophane.
And what about a Coles Deli?
Bit of yellow or something. Like he's here to romance. He's here to romance.
Yeah.
What about the Coles cake? Like the quintessential
Oh yeah. Turn up with the I love those cakes. Delish.
So nice.
that
She
says I don't care.
flat.
Coles cake means
That is not true. I love those
It's a
cakes.
split decision.
I love those cakes.
The Coles cake means I don't care. Means it's the last thing that's thought. You've got final idea.
I don't know, I feel like I'd be happy if someone bought me a Coles cake. Could you really complain if
I
someone
would
bought
rather
you?
someone pick me a crap ass flower from the ground than buy the Safeway flowers.
Oh, no, I meant more like the same.
All right.
And the Coles cake,
Sorry,
make me something even though you're crap at baking. And pick me a flower.
ladies, gentlemen. Ladies, gents. Okay. So, sleepers, I'm going to fill in the gap.
Sorry.
You're right. Ray turns up at Sharon's house, i.e. his house, and tries and fails to win her back. She flat out shuts him down, not interested. He thinks there's another man inside. I reckon it's better than him knowing that there's another man inside. If he thinks there's another man inside, you've got that like show don't tell element, that it's like he thinks he hears something in the background.
Well, the cricket's on and she hates the
Yeah,
TV.
the cricket's on. Oh, that's a brilliant one. The cricket's on. She doesn't watch cricket. Yeah. It's Panache. He's there. Yeah. He's watching the cricket. Yeah. Now we're gonna do outside. So. Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Would you be
So.
Ray again? Or you're being Ray again? So the beauty of that is, if you get that prompt, you go with sleepers.
Yeah.
Those 3 nights before the sap, you just grow yourself
Into sleepers. You read it until your eyes bleed.
And then your written voice needs to be that written voice, and it's so much
Yeah.
easier.
And you practice writing it. You've got 3 days to cook this.
Yes.
So
Show
write
your
it.
friends.
Yeah, show your friends, talk to people, show mum, get her opinion, get her to read Sleepers.
That's why the filling the gap is actually the best
You know,
one, because
yeah.
you can sit in it, and that voice can be genuine because you are
Yeah,
working with what's already there.
Exactly.
When you create something new, sometimes you get caught up in your own voice.
exactly. Can I just ask, does everyone get what we mean now by like a fill in the gap one? A writing inside the text? Yeah? I'm looking at you, Chantel. Do you understand? Kind of. So like how you just take the story further. You kind of create your own story within that story. And it's a really great option for those of you who are not confident writers, because you don't have to make up the characters. The characters already exist. The scenario already exists. You can even take things that those characters have said and use them in your piece. You could even use things from that in your own piece. Talk about, I'm using Kate Kennedy's words. No, I'm literally using Kate Kennedy's words. Just don't plagiarize.
I reckon you can also, well, you can in a sense plagiarise. But in your written explanation, you could say, having read Sleepers, but I really like some of the figurative language. Do you know, like when in a lot of the text, in every story she uses.
Oh, the stone. I know. So you could say, sorry, I just had a really good idea.
Yeah.
So you could go, I'm pulling on Sleepers. I really liked Sleepers, but I want to use the idea of Tyler with the stone in the stomach. So I'm going to take that metaphor of the stone in the stomach, and I'm going to have Ray feel the stone in the stomach.
Yes, that's what I'm scared. Exactly. You don't even need to put it in.
That was my head exploding, not me farting. Okay, just to clear that up, YouTube. That was my head exploding. That was a head explosion, I promise.
So your written explanation should save you in that. So you don't put it in
Yeah.
the comments, just put it as part
Just
of it.
put it,
We'll know where it's come from anyway. And in your
because we're smart, we read the book.
That's what you do. Yeah, so you can, if you really like some of the ways that, if you want to describe that feeling of fear and trepidation, that stone in the
Use
back,
her stuff.
use that. When we've read the story, there's some images that pop out that work for you. Don't fill your piece with it, but if there's one particular motif or idea that you like, I think that's
Use
a
it.
good way of doing it.
Yeah. Okay, now do you want to do outside? Seeing lots of people like to write outside, so let's do outside. Outside the text. What are some ideas outside the text? So we know that this is about relationships gone bad. We know that this is about wanting connection, longing for connection, not having connection. We know it's about rejection, isolation. Give me some ideas of what I could write. Give me a scenario where I'd find this.
Or you could just use, she talks about her depression. You could probably talk about how depression makes some people feel isolated, like how it isolates them. And maybe you could talk about more family relationships and all that.
Okay, so if you don't want to get into relationships as in, like a relationships, you might want to do, relationships of family, and talk about how relationships of family falling apart and thus creating a depression. That would be cool, and feeling isolated because of it. That would work. I like that. That actually fits really well with 72 Derwents with Mum.
And static.
And Static.
Christmas one.
Yeah. Those would work there too. So I think that works really well. So what's my form though? Because I can't just write. I could write a short story, but I could do a form. Yeah.
I think diary entries.
Okay.
You can kind of show, if using diary entries, towards the end you can do it so that they show less care in them in comparison to the first couple ones. Maybe the first ones are longer and they're happier, and as it goes on it can be you spend less time with the diary entry and more time in the outside world.
Good. Yeah.
Slowly kind of descending into the sort of staring and not doing anything. How she was just kind of staring at the screen, searching for answers.
Yeah.
You do a standard short story with the first person, the omnipotent third person to...
Third
Yeah.
person through the first
First,
person.
yeah.
So an omniscient right in first person.
Yeah. like that. That's what I was trying to
Well,
say.
you know what you could even do? Do you know, I would be inspired by Whirlpool, because those girls are clearly depressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so
Like,
depressing.
The
I
woman
could,
found take a photo, she stays in the pool longer than she has to, and has to wear the clothes her mum wants her to wear.
That is-
That's written in
yeah.
the second person.
Yeah, it's weird.
What makes that work for me is that it takes the power away from the reader and from the character,
Yeah.
so it forces you into that depression.
one of my girls has done the second person, and she's done
It's
it
hard,
by
but it's good.
isolation, and the girls had a traumatic experience. Yeah.
All right, so what else could we do? What's another scenario? Another scenario that we would have these feelings. Second person is you. So you went down and did this. You were in the pool.
Giving Valentine's Day at school.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day.
A guy that a guy or girl that like goes after someone at Valentine's Day, and they've made like this big effort that they're like, I'm gonna buy the box, the heart box with the chockies in it.
Their locker and you
I've found it, yeah, I've got the balloons and I've like stashed them in the locker. I've written a poem, an interpretive dance. I'm ready to roll. I got this. She's gonna be swept off her feet. And then it's like, ooh, it just goes bad. And I love that because
to a sibling that comes home who's got a broken heart.
it's true. Hang on, give me a second. I'm writing your life, yeah. I know. What are some other sad circumstances that we can ring out?
I'm Jazz. I've got all the water. Not as much as
All about
KFC.
the fast food.
Yeah. I'm actually going to have KFC tonight, I think. I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to have KFC tonight. Because my husband's at like a boring conference. So it's either cereal or like junk food. That's all I don't cook, so. Yeah. Oh, original 3-piece. Is it even a discussion? I don't do spice. All right. Ladies, gents. You're right. Andrew, it's been a pleasure. All right. Ladies, gents. So, one thing that I do want to stress is that what is one thing that you really notice about Kennedy's writing is that the event never occurs in her story. It's always after the event. So you couldn't do the moment that he gets shut down. You have to do afterwards when he's walking back to his locker. And he's like done this big show of affection and he's just been like cut down at the knees. It's not going to happen. Yeah, he opens it up and watches his social media, which you guys would totally do. You would totally do that. Don't lie. Don't lie. You all stalk your crushes. I know you do it.
Somebody actually recorded the thing.
What if someone recorded it? Oh my god! The worst! Yes!
That's the devilish Say, if you haven't read my script yet.
Ooh, that is the worst. That's like all your nightmares come together. Right. And I think, ladies, ladies, gents, and I think the kid getting shut down on Valentine's Day works really well as well. One, because it's ordinary as hell. It's ordinary, yeah? And that's what she's about. She's about the ordinary. 2, I think it's a great one because you guys can connect to it. You can empathise with it. Not that you've ever done it. Maybe you have. No judgment. But you can imagine what it would be like if you did. Yeah? And you can imagine what you would feel. You can imagine like how people would react. You can imagine that world. And I think that makes for great storytelling. But please remember that you are not telling the event, you are telling the after. Because that's one way that you can really connect to Kate Kennedy. Because she made that really clear in her presentation. That she's like, I don't find the event interesting, I find the after interesting. I find people having to cope with it interesting. And wouldn't it be an interesting thing to write about this boy who comes home and he's like had a shocker of a day because he's tried to like declare his love on Valentine's Day. He got shut down and then he had to live through that all day. He gets home, he gets onto Facebook, he logs on and someone's recorded it and it's trending.
I would love it if Mum came in and said,
And
"You're
that's,
on the internet."
yeah, I've worked out how to use the internet. Auntie Nina sent this to me via the internet. Yeah.
That'd be great, Mum, for me to go, "Oh, this is
The worst thing in your life. Yeah? That would be the worst.
Valentine's Day's pretty like.
I reckon that'd be great.
Yeah, but I think it works with this though, doesn't it?
But the happy is.
Because I think that's why it's kind of like ordinary, that it's like
It has to
everyone
be in there.
experiences Valentine's Day and how cheesy it
You can
is.
be ordinary and not cliche. Like.
Yeah, oh, look, I'm not saying, Rick,
yeah.
if you want to go out and declare your love to wait till Valentine's Day. I'm saying do it right now
Yeah.
while I'm filming. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
I had another idea with,
Shh. Sarah has genius.
No
please
pressure.
don't, no.
Was my mustache.
She's a very clever woman. She's a very clever woman. Let's hear it.
Like if a parent, like a father or mother, got separated from their child at a young age, and then like the aftermath of them meeting up with that child and the meeting not going well.
Yeah.
Distant
About maybe the child says, I don't want a relationship with you. You rejected me. I'm not interested in you. And then they have to deal with those feelings of being thrown away and rejected, even though they were the ones that perpetrated the rejection to begin with. That's a really cool story. A parent and a child who was abandoned meet for the first time. Child rejects him/her. Parent has to deal with it. Yeah, and you wouldn't tell the story of the rejection, you would tell the story afterwards. Maybe you could start it with the moment that they shut the car door.
That's a great one.
The car door shuts, and you know, like, you guys don't all drive yet, but like, I don't know why, but when you're in a car, it feels like you're in a room that no one can see you. And it's not true. That's why so many people pick their nose. So you feel like you're alone. So you shut the door, and the parents held it together until, you know, they're walking through this shopping centre because they met at Coffee Club, because that's what you do. You know, if you're going to have a reuniting with a family member, Coffee Club's the biz. That's the one to use. The scone deals are outrageous. So you meet at the coffee club, they're like not into it. You go back, you've held it together this whole time, you get in the car, you shut the door, and that's when like, blur.
And also you could use those metaphors of the safe. You're saying
This-
privacy, but also the safety of
The safety of the car.
those metaphors, the warmth, the smells, all that sort of stuff. So it really allows you to use a lot of figurative language in that moment.
Totally.
And then it's that feeling of safety compared to what must have been a feeling of absolute trepidation.
Yeah.
And, you know,
And rejection.
exactly, which follows on from the prompts. So I
Yeah.
think that's excellent.
So, do you see what we're doing when we're going outside the text? But can you see how all of these ideas still have a very clear link with this? Like, they still totally connect. Even though they're not Kate Kennedy's stories, they could almost just slip into there, couldn't they? All of those stories could just kind of go into that list quite comfortably. Okay? And I feel like, though, if you're going to go outside of the text, if you're going to write outside of the text, I feel like your best bet is to write a short story.
Yeah.
Because if you're writing outside of the text, you want to be able to connect to the text, and the easiest way is to go, I have used the genre of short story.
Back in the day when there was the other BCE before you guys started, and they used to have to do, what was it called?
Context.
And kids used to be able to do a creative.
They could do whatever the hell they wanted.
So
It
you'd
was
get a
terrifying.
prompt, and you'd have to come up with something based on the texts you read, sort of like what we're doing now, but different.
Like,
And the kids
way
got-
more scope.
Yeah, much more. But the kids that used to get 9s and 10s in the end of year exam for that were the kids who wrote really great creative pieces. If you're writing a diary entry after 13 years of education, it's not really saying much.
I mean, it could be really good.
Doubt it. No, it's never good.
Diary entries
Unless you're
often
Anne
are
Frank-
written
unless
not
you're
great.
Anne Frank,
Oh!
right? You're not gonna, like, I just...
Hey, you've not read my diary.
Your diary, different story.
You
I'm
don't know.
talking about-
It could be like a literary
You're always
genius
great. It's
there.
always, dear diary, come over to see you tomorrow. Like, you know, whatever. I don't want to see you tomorrow.
Yeah, you're probably right.
That's all I'm saying. If you, anyway, anything that gets good marks will have good, because she's got precision of language under
Yeah.
wraps. So diary entry, I could do that, but it's hard.
And you're not going to be able to use sensory language. You're not going to be, you're not going to be able to use, you could, but it's heaps harder. So like
There
a
are
short
easy
story, a short story when you go outside the text is your safest bet because it's such a clear link to what Kate Kennedy does, which is short stories. She doesn't write journal entries. She doesn't write letters. She in 72 Derwents, it's a little different.
Precise language, and that's
Yeah.
very hard to do.
Yeah,
And
that's a
it took
different
her-
kettle of fish.
It took her, how long did it take her to get to where she needed
Yeah.
to go?
Yeah,
Because it was diary entries.
Yeah.
That's virtually a novella,
Mm.
that last story.
yeah, it's massive.
So,
Yeah, it's like 3 times as long as any of the other stories.
yeah, and that's because it was a diary entry. She needed to create that with the diary. And I don't think a diary entry gives you enough intimacy.
No, and you don't have enough time to write that much intimacy. Yeah,
So that's why there are no easy options.
Cool.
Year 12.
right. Well, time is almost up. Is there any questions that people have? Questions, queries, concerns? I mean, obviously there's a concern. There's a sack coming, so
When is this?
concern. Yay! You guys are the first to know that. So exciting. You can go and like text it to people.
Parents will get an
Get on the interwebs and tell people. Yeah, we can. Oh, is there? Okay.
I just wanted to ask, how many stories do you like?
Athletic State popped up.
Sorry, Sarah has a good question. She has a really good question. Oi. Sarah has a good question. How many stories, she asked,
Do you recommend actually writing for the whole thing?
like, how many stories do you think
Like-
you should try and connect to in the...
Like actually writing for the thing?
I would say I would try and have, not necessarily even written them, but I would have had maybe like 5 kind of concepts. I mightn't have written them all. I might have just brainstormed some of them, but I would have had like 5 concepts that I'm like pretty much cover all the kind of idea basis. That it's like this one, this kind of story with the diary entries about the woman slipping into depression, that could cover ordinariness, it could cover isolation, and it could cover social issues. Fantastic. My next one, I'd make sure I had stories that kind of covered all my bases, that I felt like I could make work. That's what I would do. Make sense? Any other questions? No? I know that some people have been going, how many stories do I have to connect to? It's not really a game of how many stories I connect to, it's how deep is your connection to the text. It's not about, like, can you make connections with as many stories as possible? It's a game of how deep can your connection be with the text. Does that make sense? Make sure you watch the explanatory statement video. Godspeed.
Come off, see you later.
Goodbye. Goodbye.